Well, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the Daryl and Broad TV show where we talk about all things relationships and marriages. How I'm sounding over there to you guys? How's your day been going? So, tonight we are talking about part two of challenges in marriage. Go ahead and share it with somebody. I'm sure that it's going to be a blessing to someone. Give me a few moments here. I've got my guest here. What are we talking about tonight? We're talking about age gaps. Age gaps, not 2 years. We're not talking about 4 years or 5 years. We're talking about bigger 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30, 35 years. Um, Actually, there was one young lady that I followed today, and hers is 37. They've got a 37-year gap. So, anyway, what we're going to do is I'm going to put them on the stage here. Let's see here. Let's see what we got here. And we're going to talk about marrying young, which is 1825, right? We've got the latter years, 30s, 40s, and 50s. So, let's talk about from a mom's standpoint. Let's talk about that for a moment. And the person that you're dating is 12 years older. Let's say that let's say for an example that the young lady is, let's do 25. So that would make the guy how old? Let me see if y'all doing your math.
37. Is that
Okay.
right?
So he's 37. Okay. So that's still marrying young on what? On one side, but not the other side. So let's talk about if you're in that relationship right now, let's talk about some of the things that might help them out as far as practical things that they could do. What are your thoughts on that?
My first thought, of course, is going to be that community. If they're already married, already in a relationship, that community, because that is a huge age gap. So I think they would need people who could pour into them, support them. So communicate, community as well as communication, talking about the things that we go through just in the natural as our life changes, our body shifts. So you're talking about a huge age gap where a lot of conversation is going to have to be had. So you have to be comfortable with your spouse to have real conversations. But you ladies both know I'm big on community and having someone older to pour in. And older meaning they've been in the space of marriage over time, because there is a gap, a difference in just life experiences from a 25-year-old and there's someone who is 37. So the 37-year-old have had some experiences. Not that the 25-year-old hasn't maybe had to grow up early or had different experiences. They could have had wonderful experiences, gone off to college and all of that. But with such a huge age gap, there is going to have to be some conversation. And hopefully the conversation is before the marriage. It happened before, to discuss expectations.
I like
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. I agree with Casey. I think it's vital and necessary to have those conversations prior so that you can go into it with your eyes wide open. Sometimes we have these things that these goals and perceptions and things like that that are not realistic, especially when it comes to the age bracket. Uh, I think it can work for sure. I'm not saying that it's not a negative thing, but we want to have the necessary tools going in so that we can have a successful marriage. We want to be realistic. as far as things dealing, like Casey was saying, with your bodies and things like that. And you really don't want a daddy in your, you don't want to marry your daddy. And sometimes that happens, sometimes that person makes you feel like you don't know much because of the age break there. But I mean, if you have the necessary tools, and if it's real love, and if that's your person, it can definitely work.
I definitely do believe that it can work. From this perspective of the dating piece, I believe that communication is going to be critical. Communicate as far as what do you want and what does the other person want? Because when you got it where the female is 25, that means that the young man, he has experienced some things in life that maybe he's through for that point of it. Whereas for the 25-year-old, it's still fun for them. They still want to hang out with the girlfriends. They still want to do what they want to do. They still want to have their own money and do whatever they want to do with their money and things like that. They still may want to, be out late at night, I don't know. But what I'm saying is that they have to make sure that coming into the marriage, like Pastor Bev said, that it's not your father. You're not trying to marry your father. Of course, he'll probably come with everything together financially, great job, and just looks like, that he's taking care of you real good. You just think you want something or say it and it happens. And that's good. So as long as you're dating, you have to really and truly make sure, and especially if you've prayed, and I'm hoping you have, that you will actually be able to see whatever God's showing you. So what do I mean by that? I'm not saying that God chooses, you choose. But what I am saying is whatever you told God that you wanted in a relationship, make sure that you're not using finances as, yes, this is for me. This is, this is the kind of car he drives, and this is what he does, and this is how much money he's got, and this is what he did. He paid this bill, he paid that bill. He's done all of those things, which is good, but make sure that's still your person. And why do I say that? It's because you have to be very, very careful when you have prayed, because as sure as you have prayed and you've told God what you would like in your soulmate, the enemy also is going to make sure that he sends a bunch of counterfeits. Sorry about that, y'all. What I say, a bunch of counterfeits, meaning that may not be who God has for you. You understand what I'm saying? Don't look at the money and the things that the person can do, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you fully understand that in the communication that this person has the same goals, has the same purpose in life, definitely the same belief system. Definitely make sure that. And the reason I'm saying that is because there is a lot right now that was not in the past, as far as, what am I trying to say? In the past, those gaps were not as big as they are right now. Now, let me tell you something. Just because the gap is big does not mean that God didn't send the person to you. Let me be clear on that one. But I want you to be sure that the reason that you are saying yes to this dating person, the reason that you're saying yes to it is because that's the person that is, he has all of those things that is showing up, if that makes sense. Those things are showing up. I'm going to go ahead and bring them on for just a moment. Hold on, guys. Me and my, okay, let me see how you get this here. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Let's see how I can get this going here. Criticism, things that people will say, make sure you're prepared. for that. Make sure that you're solid in who he is to you. Make sure he's solid also in who you are to him. Go ahead, one of you guys. Go ahead.
I have this acronym when I was thinking about this show for tonight, and the acronym is CAP. So you think about like a baseball cap. But C, community, A, accountability, and P, purpose. So when you have those things, that's going to be essential. So you can have community without accountability. So community, we know that is the group of people, your circle. But are you humble enough to submit to be accountable to those people? See, you can say I have community or friendships, but as soon as someone tells you something or helps you to see from a different perspective, we're in a council culture. You know, people want to not listen, adhere. They don't want to take the wisdom or what someone is saying into prayer. So you need community, accountability, and purpose from both individuals, because that is going to be essential to how you all grow. As you mentioned, the life experiences from the older person, the 37-year-old, totally different. Totally different. So up front, you do have to have that communication and the expectation, because you don't want when we deal with the 25-year-old female and the 37 male, and of course it can be reversed, but you don't want her looking for a father figure and then him looking at her as a daughter because I'm older. Because no, you're supposed to be entered into marriage. So it's not you're treating me as a child. We're actually equal. But it has to be a mindset shift or mindset maturity, a mature mindset to understand the roles. And sometimes that understanding comes from just community. It helps us see ourselves just overall.
I was reminded of scrolling through. I was scrolling through Instagram, and you know how sometimes someone can put say a comment, and then they'll open up, and the comment will be at the top, and then they'll address it. Well, in the comment, it was the person said he's really too old to move that fast. So what are you going to do when you need him to move faster than what he's able to do? And the response back was from him. And he responded back by saying that he works out just like she works out. He responded back by saying that he's going to make sure that he keeps his body in shape so that if anything's come that way, that he is able to help and protect. So it's kind of like, you know, when you're married, you already are coming together, two independent people. So you already have that, okay, we're learning to become one. But now you're learning to become one. And additionally, you've also added a huge gap. But listen, if you are mature enough, you'll realize God has this person for you, whether he's 25 and she's the older one. You understand what I'm saying? Don't misunderstand what we're saying. We're not saying that it doesn't work and it cannot work. But what we're saying is we want to make sure that you have the tools that you need, that you have definitely go to counseling, premarital counseling beforehand. Don't set a wedding date before you go to counseling. Talk about that for a minute, Pastor Bill.
I mean, as you guys have been just talking, and as we've been talking over these weeks, the necessary thing is to understand what marriage is. A lot of times people have a misconception of what marriage is. And you mentioned about the younger woman, maybe she wants to still hang out with her friends and go here, there. Well, you may, if that's the attitude you have, you may not be ready for marriage. And it's okay. You just have to be honest with yourself and just saying, I'm not ready, because that man that you're wanting, that Boaz, as we would call it from the word of God, he wants a good thing. And if you're not ready to be in submission to that, just wait. It's okay. There's no condemnation, but you have to understand that there are some things that you're going to have to be willing to let go in order to embrace the union of marriage. And marriage is a good thing. You know, you find at the things that you both like, you cultivate it. Marriage is a compromise, you know. He may be a big sports fan, you may not care about sports, and you may like to go out and swing out or something, and he doesn't care for it. So there's a compromise in it. But that premarital counsel puts everything out on the table.
Yes.
There are things that address that you may not even thought of, because you may not have even seen marriage model before you. You may have come from a broken home, or you may have come from a home where there was a marriage, but man, just a lot was going on, dysfunctional. And so you develop your own perception about what marriage is. And so having that premarital counsel gives you the opportunity to really look and glean and really, you know, check your heart, and you have an opportunity to grow, or you have an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm not ready. So it is important.
And you know, when I think about it, and this is for you too, Pastor Casey, when I think about it, most of the sessions that we have had, there was already a date in mind. Some kind of way we need to reintroduce that when you have premarital counseling, please don't have a date in mind. Because what if you get in a premarital counseling and you find out some things either way that maybe y'all just need to wait on? Not that that person is not the person. You just may need to wait. Pastor Casey.
You know, I heard this gentleman who's now married, but he said when he found his wife, he said they had what does he call it? Marital. In other words, if we're going in that direction, we go before we even say we're getting married, let's see if we really gonna get married. And they did counsel before their actual premarital counseling. And so,
Pre-engagement.
yes, pre-engagement
I like
counseling.
that.
Thank you.
I like that.
Yes. And so that is neat because you do need to discuss some things. So he was in a relationship before with a female that he thought he was going to marry. They went through pre-engagement counseling, and she discovered through the counseling, I can't do this. His heart was broken, but it was good. He set it up. She didn't. So I think what you're saying is excellent. And so now he went on because she determined through that pre-engagement, no, I don't want to deal with this. I'm not going that way. And he moved on. She moved on. He met someone else. They went through pre-engagement and they determined this is a fit. So I think that pre-engagement does bring some clarity for us if we're willing to do it. We have to stop getting so excited, especially in the technological age. Everything is online. So, you know, the the proposal, everything it's like, so we're doing this for social media, but not realizing that no, we need to have some conversations because we're talking about building a life. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I really like that when she talked about the proposal, but I was trying to come up with, okay, so if you ask me, you've already done a proposal, which I didn't know you was going to do. You done a proposal. I'm going to say yes. Okay. And then I'm going to go to counseling without a date. So that really isn't pre-engagement counseling. So what do we call it?
So actually they had just discussed marriage. He hadn't proposed. It was just like a possibility. So there was no engagement. They went to counseling to see if this would be something they needed to take to the next step to get engaged. So it was like a pre-engagement because he was saying, I think this is what I want to do. I think I want you to be my wife. And they went to counseling. And then, so let's use the woman he's married to now. They went to counseling after counseling, and they said it was rough. They weren't even engaged. They had no date. They weren't engaged. At this point, he was the only one exclusive. But she was open to do whatever. But when they went to counseling and then they discussed, yes, I think we are fit. We're going to have to continue counseling. He then proposed. She didn't even know when the proposal was coming. So they did counseling before the proposal. So I was trying to remember the exact word he used, but it was like I like the pre-engagement that Pastor Bev said, but he used another word. But it was pre-engagement when they were just considering that they may be engaged.
I'm trying to think of something. I'm trying to think of a word that, I didn't. My mom didn't know I was dating, hypothetically. So we got this big age gap. So we're dating. He's proposed. When you propose, you're supposed to talk to the parents first. Y'all do know that, right?
I think that's what I say.
Help some out.
Right? We still
some
do
of
that.
Them may know it. Some of them may not. So go ahead and help them out.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. When Chloe got married, she's divorced now, but thank God that there are still family. That's still my son-in-law. Regardless, he's gonna always be in our life, right? He drove down and he talked to us. When Angel, before she got married, he drove down. He talked to my husband beforehand. So before you propose, you talk to the family and let them know that you want to marry their daughter, correct? Okay, and at that point, there's a nice conversation. It should be a nice conversation because at that time, she doesn't know. The only people know then is him and the what he's gonna propose to, right? So there's a conversation. So there's some things being said at that particular time. So you don't propose to someone and you want to do a surprise. Yeah, the whole family needs to know. When my sisters, same way with my sister, the first husband, and then she was gonna get married this last time, but he passed, and I'm still praying for that. But yes, he let everybody know she didn't know, right? But he talked to the parents. So we're saying, first of all, before you propose, talk to her parents, okay? So now I'm going back to the part about now that he's proposed. So you need to know, just because you got the nice ring, you done showed everybody the 5 carats and everything like that, you need to still know that if there's something that God reveals or shows you, call the wedding off. I don't care how much money you put into it. I don't care if you done bought cards and invitations and this. Take a loss. I guarantee you, if you take a loss now, God will make sure that He'll restore everything to you.
Yeah, those decisions, marriage shouldn't be taken lightly. Again, knowing exactly what marriage is, what it requires, the marriage is going to be as great as you make it great. That person having a safe place, and we're talking about all things relation. So even before the marriage, it's important about who you're dating. It's important about, once you do find that person that you think is your person, you want to court them. And yes, I'm old fashioned. You want to keep your cookies in the jar, because that way you can walk away and disconnect without thinking, now we're connected, because there is something called ungodly soul ties. And so I think it's just so important that you know your value, and that you protect your heart, and that you get to know that person. I think it's vital, if it gets close to that place where you're feeling, your feelings are going a little deeper and you think it may be your person, get to know their family as well. It's just so important. It's one thing. What's that saying, ladies? They say that when you see how they treat their mother, it speaks volume. So you want to get to know the family, you want to get to know that person, you want to ask the right questions, you want to be able to have a conversation so that you can find out some things.
All right, Prophetess Casey.
I agree with everything she just said. You want to be able to have those conversations. Again, we're just dealing with the society that we're in. You're really going to have to make sure you're solid as an individual. So that's what I want to encourage some people. Make sure you're solid as an individual, so you're not caught up in just the hype of the moment. Because so many people get caught up in the hype of the moment that they plan on building a life. It's just a moment. I've heard, of course, this was years ago, but I heard a female say, well, I really don't want to be married, but I want the wedding. So we could just have a wedding and we could do what we want to do. And I'm thinking, that's someone, first of all, an immature mindset and not understanding covenant. but we do have to just make sure that we are solid individually so we can have the conversations necessary on building a life. I love what Pastor Bev said. Keep those cookies in the jar because it's going to start disrupting some things. And now you have a soul tie with someone that is not supposed to be in part of your life, a part of your purpose. The other thing is we have to make prayer normal, consulting God and receiving what God is saying about our marriage. You know, I hear people all the time say God doesn't choose your mate. I think yes and no. I do believe sometimes there is a specific person that God has. Now, we do have individual choice. I'm not saying God mates, but I do think for some, God says, this is who I want for you. Others, I think there is a choice. But the bottom line is we have to make consulting, inquiring of the Lord normal. And then also inquiring of our community. Like you had mentioned, the guy should go to the family. There should be no, and this is my thought process. There should be no surprise I'm engaged to somebody the family has never met. That doesn't seem safe. What are you hiding? So that's my thought.
I was trying to see why I put it on my page, but for some reason it's locked. And I don't know how to get it unlocked. Meaning that no one can see it but me. When I go to edit the post, it says only me. Let me find out why. Because I got a text message. And I don't know why. But y'all keep talking. I'm gonna figure this out.
I agree with you, Casey. It shouldn't be that situation where somebody show up and it's like, well, who are you? It's so important, because sometimes people, especially people that you trust, people that love you and you love them, they may see something that you can't see because you're just so, again, you're so in love with the idea of being married, and so you sell yourself short. So it is important that you have people in your life that you're willing to listen to. What they say, sometimes the truth hurts, but it's gonna be more beneficial for us when we're willing to take those suggestions or what somebody is saying and take it and just ponder it and put it before, just kind of look at it and say, let me take a good look at this. And then you can see that, they're not against you, they want the best for you. But it's so important that you have people in your life that you're willing to listen to.
Yes, willing to listen to. And that's essential. You know, I think about myself when I got married when I was 21. I'm divorced now, but here's the interesting part. My mother said to me, Casey, I'm not saying don't marry him. I'm saying don't marry him now. And she told me why. She said, there are things you want to do. If you marry him, she said, it's not going to work. His father told him, if you love her, you will let her go. Y'all don't need to get married. Now, I'm young. I'm going to live holy and righteous. I want to be married. So I get married. I'm married for 25 years. My 25th year, I get a divorce. I'm sitting there crying out to the Lord, and the Holy Spirit says to me, I told you not to get married because I'm complaining about the ex-husband. I'm going through this divorce and he did X, Y, Z. And the Holy Spirit said, I told you not to get married. So you have to be willing to listen, even when you have a difference of opinion. Just take a step back, get the counseling and get wise counseling. Get the wise counseling.
Absolutely. Wise counsel is so important because people have opinions. We see they're flying by day and night, opinion over here, opinion over there, live your truth, and all these different things. But you have to know that making the right decisions can help you avoid the pitfalls. And that's why we're talking about relationships, because we want you to have a successful relationship. We want you to go in with your eyes open, and we want you to win. You know, we want you to win, and God definitely wants you to win because He is the author of marriage. He ordained marriage, and it's a good thing.
I don't know what Facebook did. They showed unlocked it, and I don't understand why they would do that. But anyway, we're gonna move on. We were talking about when Pastor Casey mentioned about going, the Holy Ghost said I didn't tell you to marry, but I was going before that. Hold on, this is what I was gonna go with. I'm gonna put us out on her for this one here. Hold on. Let's see here. Me and my controls. Let's see here how I get this layout. There you go. So what I like about when you have other hosts is because each one of us still might have a difference of opinion, right? But where there's a biblical understanding of it, then it's in there. But what I did want to say was I was going to remind Prophet Casey, this is what I believe. I believe God marries principles. Mm-hmm. So let's say, for example, that maybe I'm on my third husband and he's the right one, right? I do believe that it's principles. We do have a choice also, but I do believe that it's principles that marry principles. Because I still have a choice. Let's say that, what about for people that, they've had a good marriage, right? And the husband or the wife goes home to be with the Lord, but they still want to get married, So I just believe the principles, as long as principles are married together, I believe that it will, I know it's going to work. That's my stand on that one, because we do have a choice. We do have a choice in who we do marry. And I hope people understand what a principle is. It's just God's word, And I do understand you can marry somebody and that might not have been the right choice, and you can stay married, but that wasn't the right choice. I do believe that, though, Pastor Casey. So I digress on that one. For sure.
Yes.
So let's talk about how do we help the age gaps that we have. So he or she, let's use 37, because she said by the time when he was 37, she was just getting born. She was just born. And I'll put her information in the I'll send y'all a text of who the couple is so you can see what I'm talking about. She said, well, he's 37. He was 37. She's out. I was just born. But I'm saying that to say that when you are believing God for the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, the reason that I want you to have counseling is because you need to know that he or she, whoever's the oldest, they're going to experience some things really early in life. They may have to have some surgeries, or you're still going to be in your prime. Are you willing to stay the whole way? So if she's 37, if he was 37, let me see how old she is. They couldn't be right. So he's 37 right now. If he was 37, she said, I just was born. Their gap is what?
Well, 37. I mean, if she's just born, then that means he's 37 years older than her.
Right. I'm sorry. I mean, that would make them right now. How old would they be?
Are you talking about the couple?
Yeah.
Okay. She's 49 currently. He's 87. That's what you sent to us a couple of weeks ago.
Oh no, that is
So you're talking about someone else?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm talking about someone else. Because I came up with 74. I said that couldn't be right. I said that could not be right. I'm gonna have to go in and find out.
Now, is she 25 and he? Because we were using the example, the 12-year gap, the 25 and 37, or are they?
I was using them now. The one I'm gonna send y'all in the comments. she said that she was born when he was 37 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes him 37 years older than her. So say for instance, if she's 20, then he's
57.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. So that means that he is probably going to experience some things because the gap is so big, where you are going to have to help take care of him. That's your husband or your wife, whichever the gap is. So you need to know beforehand, are you willing, should something happen, that he or she can no longer take care of themselves and you're going to be their sole provider, their caregiver. Are you willing? You can always say, well, there's nothing going to happen. I'm believing God. Of course you're going to believe God. But so those things are going to come into play. So are you ready for that? And do you realize at that particular time, there are some things in your life that you won't be able to do during that period of time based on, you can't leave him at home all the time, or you can't leave her at home all the time. Come on, let's talk to that. We got to help them.
Well, 20 and 57, this is why community is important and we have to listen, because that is parent, that he may be older than her actual parent. And so that is something to be concerned. And that's why we emphasize community and accountability, because a 20-year-old should be experiencing a life that the 57-year-old has already been experiencing. So let's just use a natural thing. You know, today, 20-year-olds, they're going out, they're traveling with their friends. Majority of their friends, say they do have friends that are 30. A 57-year-old, do they really want to just hang out with a group of 30-year-olds? So I think both parties would really have to evaluate, what are we attracted to? Is just this a physical thing? Because again, if those cookies aren't in the jar, now things are, and people can be, how do I want to say this? To justify let's just get married. Well, you have to be able to think, remove the physical part, the sex part out of it, so that you could think clearly, because you're in two different stages of life. And I think it can possibly be unfair. No, I think it is unfair on both sides, because a 57-year-old perhaps have friends, they're headed to retirement, doing other things. It's just a huge gap when we say 37 years of experience. Can it work? It can work. And as you stated, it's going to be a lot of work, not just later on, but even now, because your audience, your environment, your circles are different. Totally different.
I agree. Come on, Pastor Bev.
And I think I guess it's important that we don't generalize everything, because it is going to depend on those individuals.
Yes.
You know, there are some people who are up in age and they didn't experience a lot of stuff that younger people did. They just didn't, because they had a different perspective, or maybe they were an old soul, if we want to use that term. So it's going to depend on the two individuals. Everything that we're saying may not apply to your circumstance or to your situation, but you know what your situation is. And so even without the age gap, I'm thinking about, my husband is a couple years younger than me. So, I'm thinking about some challenges that he's had, that I've had to walk through with him. And so you just got to know what you're in for. Are you willing to walk it out? Are you willing to be patient and see them overcome, whatever it is, the challenge that they're facing with? Or do you have the attitude, I didn't sign up for that? Because some people do. So again, it's so vital and necessary to understand that marriage as Casey has said, it's a covenant. It's not a contract. You could tear up a contract and you can walk away and not think anything about it, but it's a covenant, and it's something that God has ordained, and it's two people becoming one. And so just again, we just want to put the challenges out there and then give you tools to work with so that you can have a successful relationship.
Let's get us all on here. Uh, I was thinking about when Prophet Casey was talking, and she said, "Does the person really and truly? Do you want to sit down and listen to their conversations?" You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking, I probably don't. Because the age gap. Do you really and truly want to hang out with the age group that is her age? Let's say it's her, right? Her age. No, I don't. No, we're not. I don't want to talk about that. No. Now, again, you could have a whole mature group, but a lot of times it's usually not like that. Or maybe you could hang out with the older ones. I don't know. I have to think about that one also. That's something to think about, is what I'm saying. There's a lot to think about, because when you start, remember, y'all are both still, vital. Y'all are still having a great time. You have not hit things that can't happen, is what I'm trying to say. Your body naturally can go through a series of things based on how you have taken care of your body. So we don't want you to get down the road and say, dog, I didn't know that I had to do all this. You know what I'm saying? We just want you to make sure that we're clear, that you see all of these things going into the relationship. The young lady that I am talking about, what happened was she had dated many people her age, and none of them were worth anything. None of them were worth anything. So when he came along, it was like being rescued. I've been rescued. And there's nothing wrong with being rescued. Don't misunderstand me, right? But I don't remember if she was healed yet. And right now it looks great. It looks great. But what about in 10 more years?
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Because he's I'm for sure he's older than me. I'm for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you see what I'm saying? So as long as she understands that. But you know what? Like Pastor Babb said, some people have an old soul. So maybe you're mature enough that you're in it for the long run. Because at the end of the day, God is going to be there with you all the way through. God is going to be there. A covenant is a covenant. Period. It's just a covenant. What are some other things that we could help them with, that are thinking about, because that's their age? These are not ones that are already married, because they're married. What else can you guys think of that can help them to think about, to talk through? Because if you talk through some things, then you're more prepared.
I guess you could talk about, how some people say, well, my daddy died of a heart attack, and his brother had a heart attack, and grandma and granddaddy had, those generational things. I think it's important to talk about it. We who are learning the things of Christ, we understand that those things are cursed and you can break it. But I'm just saying, from a fundamental perspective, you should talk about those things, because there are people who literally, because that happened to granddaddy and daddy, they expect it to happen to them. And so you want to be on the same page with those things, these generational things. You want to deal with them. Nobody's ever had a successful marriage. You want to talk about those things. That way you can have the tools that you need to fight the good fight of faith in your marriage. It doesn't have to end up like somebody else, someone in your family. Just because it happened with them doesn't necessarily mean it had to happen to you. So just even learning those things. That's why communication, as Casey keeps emphasizing, community, because some community may know some things that you haven't been introduced to, that you haven't ever thought about. And because sometimes people are just living life, and whatever's thrown at them, they just, roll with the punches. So having a conversation is so important. You learn in talking with other people.
Yes. The conversation, the community. And I think on the community piece, when you are dating and then you two are around one another's friends, it opens the door for you to see their interactions. How do they interact with that group of people? Because there used to be a saying, maybe people still say it, you need to know a person in every season. Now, I don't necessarily think they mean know how they act in the physical winter, but it means your temperament, different environments. So I think being around each other's community, because obviously you're going to have separate connections, separate communities, to see the interaction. What type of things do their friends engage in? Because that can tell you a lot about a person, their community, their behavior, their, you know, is it a community of integrity? Are they wilding out, as the, you know, as the world says? What are they doing? Having conversations, seeing how they interact. Does his friends who are married flirt? Does her friends who are married, what are they doing?
That's right.
Conversations with each other. Okay, do you believe in exclusivity? What are your thoughts on marriage? Having real conversations. What are your expectations of a wife? You all, you know, my husband, he's looking for me, so he might be watching. But I met this guy, and he just, and we were in a conversation. He was talking about marriage and all of this. Now, we were just in a conversation, hadn't known him. Matter of fact, it was the first conversation. He was talking about he wanted to be married. And then he was like, well, you know, what he want his wife to come home and do. And what's she gonna do? And she don't need to know nothing. He gonna teach her everything. Now, this is a grown man. And so I'm listening. I'm like, okay, interesting. And he was like, well, you don't have anything to say. Well, I knew how to end the conversation. And I'm just being transparent and real. So the way I wanted to get away, I said, well, what are your thoughts on women preachers? Because he just basically said he wanted his wife to come home, shut up, and do nothing. So I'm not going to waste my time. I don't need entertainment like that. So having conversations and being okay with the conversation and not trying to make something when you two don't even align on the, as you all said, principles. But just having those conversations and interacting to see the behaviors. What are they looking for? And asking, what do you see in a husband? What do you desire out of a husband? What do you desire out of your wife? Those conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. They might be they might be swingers. You need to find out if they're swingers or not.
Yes. Yes.
You so right about that, because that don't went from the cookies. I said, what's a cookie? What are we talking about, cookies? No, don't sleep with them if you ain't married. That was it. That what they, let me say it for them. No.
Yes.
Don't sleep with them. If you're not married to them, just don't sleep with them. Just wait. You ain't got to worry about it. You may not get no proposal.
Yes.
If he ain't got nothing in 6 or 7 months, he may not propose ever. He may be gone.
And you'll be happy you kept all your cookies.
Yes. Yes.
I wanted to make sure that we did an hour on here, and we still did not get to the. We're just still scratching the surface with this because of these age gaps, right? So if we can help the age gaps, then we can definitely help the other ones also. So we are going to have a part 3 on next week. So I believe that we'll have Carol and Milton at that particular time. The young lady that just, I don't know, she just came across my page and stuff like this, just came across the page. I'll reach out to her also and see if we can get them on here also, just so they can say, now I won't put them together though, because we wouldn't have enough time for that. Just so that they can speak to it, and you would be surprised at, I'm sure there's some things that we can speak into their lives. This is what I'm going with this. I'm sure there's some things, because if you're already in a covenant, all we want to do is help you to stay in that covenant. If you're already in it, we want to help you to stay in it. Doing life God's way. Doing marriage God's way. I want to thank you, my host, so much. I used to call them guests. They're not guests, they're hosts. I want to thank them so much for their knowledge, for their time, the sacrifices they make to come over here to help with marriages and things like that, and to be able to bring, different people on that are already in these situations, so that they can tell their story and that we can speak life into their marriage. Anyway, we will see you guys in 2 weeks. See you guys in 2 more weeks. Same time. Thank you guys. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.